Hi scholars! It's time for our next exciting read aloud about the American Revolution. First, in our first read aloud, we learned about how the colonies were settled and that they didn't actually make their own laws or have their own government. They had to obey the laws of the King of Great Britain all the way on the other side of the ocean. In our last read aloud, we heard all about the Boston Tea Party, where the citizens of Boston got really angry. They had to pay taxes on tea, so they threw all the tea into the harbor. And the King of Great Britain was not very happy about that at all. So today we're going to read the shot heard around the world. We're going to find out what happened after the Tea Party. All right, here we go. We're going to do our vocab at-bats. So for the at-bats, remember you can just hold up 1, 2, 3 at home or just shout it out. We're going to go over our objective, our vocabulary words. We're going to talk a little bit about cause and effect before we go into our read aloud. Then we're going to check our understanding. At the end of this, you have a somebody wanted but so then paper, and I'm going to walk you through the answers for that, okay? Here we go. Vocab at-bats. Who's got the word? All right, you can shout it out or hold up the number just like you would in class. Here we go. At the market, people bought and sold revolted. At the market, people bought and sold harbor. At the market, people bought and sold goods. 3, 2, 1. The word is goods. The correct answer is goods. At the market, people bought and sold goods. We watched the ships come in and out of the harbor. We watched the ships come in and out of the taxes. We watched the ships come in and out of the goods. 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is harbor. We watched the ships come in and out of the harbor. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of the harbor who was elected to serve in Congress. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of the representatives elected to serve in Congress. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of the revolted elected to serve in Congress. 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is representatives. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of the representatives who was elected to serve in Congress. The government collects harbor to help pay for schools and build roads. The government collects taxes to help pay for schools and build roads. The government collects revolted to help pay for school and build roads. 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is taxes. The government collects taxes to help pay for schools and build roads. The citizens of Boston harbor against the taxes on tea. The citizens of Boston taxes against the taxes on tea. The citizens of Boston revolted against the taxes on tea. 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is revolted. They fought back against those taxes. They did not like them. They did not like being taxed without representatives to decide how much they had to pay. All right, now let's go ahead and go into the next part of our lesson. Before we go on with our objective, I want to shout out a scholar answer from our very first lesson. It was from 2 days ago. This scholar answer is, something I learned about the colonies is Roanoke Island was called the Lost Island because everyone disappeared. Shout out to that scholar. Thank you so much for having Mom send me that awesome picture of your work. Keep writing those sentences. Objective, objective, we learn all about it. I can fill out a graphic organizer to summarize the read aloud. So somebody wanted but so. It'll look a little bit different than ones we've done in the past, but it's the same kind of graphic organizer we've used to retell a read aloud. So this should be familiar to you, okay? Vocabulary. The first word we need to know is militia. The first word we need to know is militia. Militia is an army made up of ordinary people, not trained soldiers. A militia is an army made up of ordinary people. They are not trained soldiers. Long ago, towns would have a small militia to help keep people safe. The next word we need to know is obeyed. The next word we need to know is obeyed. Obeyed means followed orders or did something you were told to do. Followed orders or did something you were told to do. The marching band obeyed the director's instructions and got into formation. The next word you need to know is signal. The next word you need to know is signal. Signal is an object or act used to send a message without words. A signal is an object or act used to send a message without words. Here's a signal we see every day. This signal let us know it was not safe to cross the street. Ooh, next is spies. The next word we need to know is spies. We're getting into a part of the revolution that Mr. Coleman really gets excited about. Spies are people who secretly keep watch on other people to find out what's happening. So, people who secretly keep watch on other people to find out what's happening. Those are spies. Robert Townsend, the man you see pictured here, was one of many among Washington's spies during the American Revolution. Ooh, so we haven't quite gotten to Washington being in charge of the army yet, but this man here was one of the spies who passed information to Washington and his army. The next word you need to know is volunteers. The next word you need to know is volunteers. Volunteers are people who do something without being paid or told to do it. Volunteers are people who do something without being paid or told to do it. The volunteers helped clean up the park and plant new trees. All right, let's go over some cause and effect for our read aloud today so we can kind of review the last read aloud and get into what we're talking about today a little bit. So cause and effect. Cause, the British King and Parliament started taxing tea and other goods. The British King and Parliament started taxing tea and other goods in the colonies. Effect, the colonists in Boston got very angry and they dumped the tea into Boston Harbor. This event is called the Boston Tea Party. Cause, the King and Parliament closed the port of Boston and the town started to shut down. Effect, the First Continental Congress met. A group of representatives from each colony met to discuss what to do. So, that's where we're at so far. All these taxes and the colonists had no say in what happened with their tax money and they were not happy about it. They couldn't send back the tea without paying for it. They had to pay the tax no matter what, so they threw it all in the harbor. Then the King and the British Parliament got really angry, closed the British port and sent all these troops into Boston. The First Continental Congress met and said, let's wait, let's send the King a letter and let's try to work through this peacefully. So that's where we're at today, all right? It's 1775. It's a couple years since the Boston Tea Party. So, show me your best GLP. Listen for those vocabulary words and listen for Paul Revere and how he helps the Sons of Liberty and helps the American Revolution. This is when the revolution actually starts. So we're getting to some exciting stuff here. After the Boston Tea Party, King George sent thousands of British soldiers to Boston to make sure the colonists obeyed the King's orders, or to make sure the colonists did as the King ordered them to do. They swarmed the streets of the city in their fancy red uniforms with shiny buttons, earning themselves the name Redcoats. They carried weapons with them everywhere they went. This made the people of Boston very angry. The city no longer felt like it was home to them. They did not know whom to trust. Spies, or people who secretly kept watch on other people to figure out what they were up to, spread out all over the city. British soldiers disguised as colonists, and colonists disguised as British soldiers. There was lots of whispering in the streets, and people kept secrets from one another. It was not very pleasant. It was even a little scary. Paul Revere was a silversmith living in Boston. As a silversmith, he was kept quite busy making and repairing silver dinnerware, candlesticks, and jewelry. A sign with a silver pitcher hung outside his shop on the town square. In those days, it was common for shopkeepers to hang signs above their doors with pictures of what could be bought inside their shops. Do you remember the end of the last read aloud? We saw a picture of a Boston shop. That was a picture of Paul Revere's silversmith shop. One day, the door to his shop flew open, and a friend rushed over to Revere's side. The two men were both members of the Sons of Liberty, the group of patriots who had emptied tea into Boston's harbor. Ooh, so Paul Revere is a patriot. He supports breaking away from the British colony, from the British King and Parliament, and having the colonies be their own independent country. He's a patriot and he's fighting for independence. Ever since the Boston Tea Party, the colonists of Massachusetts had been hiding weapons, gunpowder, and cannonballs in neighboring towns. The British, afraid the colonists might be planning to attack them, captured the weapons whenever they learned where they were hidden. Why do you think the colonists might start hiding these guns and these weapons? Why do you think they'd hide their ammo? I want you to have mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever, text me why you think the colonists were trying to hide guns, gunpowder, bullets, all their weapons. Why do you think the colonists wanted to hide these materials from the British? Now, as the two men huddled together in the back of Revere's shop, his friend whispered that the British were planning to raid the colonists' storehouse of weapons in the town of Concord. The British were to travel that night, he said, but nobody knew whether they would march on land or choose the shorter route and sail a boat by sea. The Patriots knew they must somehow warn the militia in Concord that the British were coming by sea or land. A militia is an army of ordinary people. They are not trained soldiers. Revere and others spied or secretly watched over the British to discover the soldiers' plan. When Revere learned the troops were coming by sea, he arranged for a signal to be given, a secret code. His friend was to climb up the bell tower of the Old North Church, light one lantern, and hang it in the belfry or bell tower if the British are traveling on foot by land, Revere told his friend. But if they are planning to travel on boat by sea, hang 2 lanterns. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. Paul Revere left his family and crept down to the banks of the Charles River that night. He quietly crossed the river in a boat to a spot where he borrowed a horse from his friend and fellow patriot. Paul Revere mounted the horse, tipped his hat in thanks to the Patriots, and sped away. As he galloped through the towns along the way, Paul Revere shouted to the colonists in their beds, "The Redcoats are coming! The Redcoats are coming!" All around him, shutters were thrown open as people began waking in the middle of the night. When Revere reached the town of Lexington with word of the approaching British troops, men hurried from their homes, joining one another with their muskets in the middle of the town. These men, known as Minutemen because they were expected to be ready to fight at a minute's notice, slept with their muskets and gunpowder beside their beds. Revere was joined by the second rider, William Dawes, who had been sent on the same mission but following a different path to Lexington. At dawn, the British reached Lexington. The Minutemen were farmers and shopkeepers, volunteers for their country, not trained soldiers. Volunteers choose to do a job without being paid. They looked ragged next to the well-dressed British soldiers or redcoats. In the confusion of the early morning hours, a shot was fired. Others fired back, and fighting continued throughout the morning. Finally, Minutemen were able to force the British to return to Boston, firing at them from behind rocks, trees, and fences all along the way. To this day, no one knows who fired the first shot. Nerves had been on edge since the Boston Tea Party, so it's not surprising that guns went off. That first shot was the beginning of a long war between the British and their American colonies. It is known as the shot heard around the world because not only did it change life in the colonies, but it also changed things around the world in Great Britain, all the way across the Atlantic. That long war became known as the Revolutionary War. And that's it for the read aloud today. Let's go over a few key facts. We're going to check my understanding. You can shout these answers out loud right at the screen, okay? Or if you want, you can talk to it with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, brother, sister, someone at home, okay? What is the main topic of the read aloud? What is the main topic of the read aloud? I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to tell me what you think the main topic of the read aloud is, okay? All right, that's 10 seconds. The main idea is Paul Revere helped the Minutemen to prepare to fight the British and the start of the Revolutionary War at the Battle of Lexington in 1775. Who were the Redcoats? Who were the Redcoats? This one's easy, 5 seconds. The Redcoats were the British Army. Next question. Who were the Minutemen? Who were the Minutemen? 7 seconds on this one, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The colonial militia, the volunteers. Why do you think Paul Revere warned the colonists the Redcoats were coming? Why do you think the colonists warned Paul Revere wanted to warn the colonists the Redcoats were coming? 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He was a patriot, right? He was a patriot. He believed that America should be its own independent country. It shouldn't have to obey the British king any longer. Now, this is really great. So, Great Britain is all the way over here. This is Great Britain. Actually, let me erase that and make a better circle. So, Great Britain is all the way over here. It's this island right here. Lexington is over here in this area here in the colonies. Look at the black line. Here's the distance between Britain and Lexington. Do you really think that shot could be heard thousands of miles away, all the way on the other side of the ocean? Probably not. It probably couldn't be heard all the way on the other side of the ocean. So even though it's called the shot heard around the world, it wasn't literally heard thousands of miles away on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. The phrase means it's the first shot of the war, and it affected the lives of people on both sides of the ocean. That's why it's called the shot heard around the world. All right, time for somebody wanted, but so then. So here are the packet pages that were emailed to mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever. If you can print these out and write on them, perfect. If not, we're gonna go over this. You can write these phrases down on just a blank piece of paper. I already had one scholar whose mom texted me a really good answer. If you want your written answers shouted out on the slides, have mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever, text me a picture of your work, and I will definitely include it in my scholar shoutouts, okay? So somebody wanted, but so then. For somebody, you're gonna write the Redcoats. For somebody, you will be writing the Redcoats, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and give you about 20 seconds to write the Redcoats, all right? So 20 seconds. This is also, if you need more time than the 20 seconds, feel free to just pause the video, okay? Somebody, the Redcoats. Next to somebody or on your piece of paper, you're gonna write somebody and write the Redcoats. All right, that's somebody, the Redcoats. For the next part of the chart, wanted. The Redcoats wanted to take the colonists' weapons. They wanted to take the colonists' weapons. Ooh, remember, if you have a thought on why the British wanted to take the colonists' weapons, you can have mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle text me your thoughts on that, okay? I'm going to give you a little bit of time here to write it down. If you don't get enough time from this, just pause the video on this slide, okay, guys? Okay, we're going to move on in about 10 seconds. All right, so somebody, the Redcoats, wanted to take the colonists' weapons. But, somebody wanted but. We're working on the but part. But Paul Revere warned the colonists. Paul Revere warned the colonists. It's right here for you. Paul Revere warned the colonists, okay? Again, if you need more time than I'm giving you right now, which is about 20 seconds, pause the video. Don't hesitate to pause the video. This is perfect for you guys to pause the video, okay? About 10 more seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, moving on. If you need more time, hit that pause button. So, somebody wanted but, so the Redcoats met the Minutemen. The Redcoats met the Minutemen. if you're writing this on just a regular piece of paper, still write the so and the 2 dots, okay? So you can keep it separate. Make sure you're including those finger spaces. I know you're trying to get it all down. You can pause the video. I'd rather you pause the video and make sure you have those nice clean finger spaces in your work than just rush through it, okay? Your best penmanship is still the expectation so that when I see the picture of it, I can still read what you wrote, okay? About 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Moving on to then. Moving on to then. Then they started fighting and the shot heard round the world happened. They started fighting and the shot heard round the world happened. This one, I'm going to talk a little bit before I give you your final countdown. So you have your somebody wanted but. So then they started fighting and the shot heard around the world happened. So to summarize, somebody, the Redcoats, wanted to take the colonists' weapons, but Paul Revere warned them. So they met the Minutemen, then they started fighting and the shot heard around the world happened. So again, if you need more time, pause the video, okay? I wonder who's going to text me a picture with the best finger spaces. I wonder who's going to text me a picture with the best finger spaces. I wonder if more scholars from ISU will have better finger spacers or more scholars from Ashford will have better finger spaces. 10, 9, 8, 6. You can still pause the video if you need more time. 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's it for the shot heard around the world. The Battle of Lexington, the start of the American Revolution. Oh man, we've been building to this and building to this, and now we're going to get into some really exciting stuff. So that's it for today. I cannot wait to see all of your diligent finger spaces and written work. All right, have mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever text me a picture. They know they have my number if they need it. Until then, keep writing. I will see you all next time, and I miss you all very much. Bye.